Three massive ships appeared at the edge of the Kepler 442 system like dark metal mountains floating in space. Each Velthak dreadnought was over 2 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy planets. The largest ship belonged to Commander Zethkar, a veteran warrior who had conquered 15 different species for the Velthak Empire. Zethkar stood on his command deck looking at the displays showing the human colony. His tactical officer Vextal brought him the final intelligence, reports about New Haven. "The humans have made no changes to their defenses, Commander," Vextal said. "They still show only basic shields and a few small patrol craft." The commander studied the data with satisfaction. Human colonies were spread thin across many systems. Earth Command could not protect them all. This made them perfect targets for the Empire's expansion plans. "How long since we started watching this colony?" Zethkar asked. 6 months, Commander. Our stealth probes have monitored all their activities. They grow food, mine metals, and live simple lives. No military buildup, no request for reinforcements from Earth. Zethkar nodded. The humans were either very stupid or very confident. Both would work in his favor. The Velthak Empire had perfected the art of conquest over centuries. They would arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and either accept submission or destroy the target completely. "Begin approach to the inner system," Zethkar ordered. "Standard conquest protocol. We will give them one chance to surrender before we demonstrate the power of the Empire." The three dreadnoughts moved toward New Haven at a speed that would bring them to the planet in 12 hours. Their sensors swept the system looking for hidden defenses or reinforcement fleets. They found nothing except some mining stations and communication satellites. On New Haven, the morning started normally. Jake Morrison was drinking coffee in his office when his communication system detected something unusual. The sensors that watched space around the colony had picked up 3 large objects moving toward them. Jake called Lisa Carter immediately. "Lisa, we have visitors coming. 3 big ships just appeared at the system edge." Lisa was at her desk. Within minutes, she looked at the sensor data and felt her stomach tighten. The ships were huge and clearly military. No peaceful vessel needed to be that large or carry that many weapons. "Jake, these are warships. Each one could probably destroy our entire colony." "How long until they get here?" Jake asked. "About 12 hours at their current speed." Lisa was already thinking about evacuation procedures and defense options. But with only 50,000 colonists and a few patrol ships, their choices were very limited. Jake activated the colony's emergency communication system. "Attention all department heads. Please report to the administration building immediately. We have a situation that requires immediate discussion." Within 30 minutes, the colony's leadership gathered in Jake's conference room. Dr. Alex Stone arrived with his tablet. Ben Rodriguez came from his workshop with oil still on his hands. Katie Walsh looked worried as she sat down. Several other department heads filled the remaining chairs. "We have 3 alien warships approaching our colony," Jake began. "They will arrive in about 11 hours. Lisa believes they are military vessels with hostile intent." The room became very quiet. Most of the people there had never seen real military action. New Haven was supposed to be a peaceful place far from any conflicts. "What do we do?" asked the agriculture supervisor. "First, we try to communicate with them," Jake said. "Maybe they are just passing through and mean no harm." "Doctor." Stone looked at his tablet and frowned. "I am reading about something called the Velthak Empire in our database. They have been expanding aggressively in this part of the galaxy. They demand surrender from weaker species and destroy those who refuse." "How do you know about them?" Lisa asked. Alex hesitated for a moment. I keep track of potential threats as part of my research duties. The Valthak have conquered many species. They prefer to attack small, isolated targets. Ben Rodriguez spoke up from the back of the room. What kind of weapons do our patrol ships have? Maybe we can put up some kind of fight. Lisa shook her head. Our ships are designed for basic defense against pirates or smugglers. Against warships like these, we would last maybe 5 minutes. Katie Walsh raised her hand like she was still in a classroom. What about the children? We need to get them to safety. The emergency shelters under the school can protect them, Jake said. But those are designed for natural disasters, not military attacks. As the meeting continued, each person reported on their department's emergency capabilities. The colony had basic evacuation procedures. They had some underground storage areas. The shields could protect against small meteors or space debris, but none of it seemed adequate against 3 massive warships. What the department heads did not know was that Jake was having a second meeting after they left. He, Lisa, Dr. Stone, and Ben Rodriguez stayed behind while the others went to prepare their departments for possible evacuation. How much should we tell them? Lisa asked when the room was empty. As little as possible, Jake replied. The fewer people who know, the better our chances. Dr. Stone opened a different program on his tablet. Instead of agricultural data, it now showed military specifications and weapon systems. I have been monitoring the approaching ships. They are exactly what our intelligence predicted the Valthak would send for a colony this size. Ben Rodriguez walked to a wall panel and pressed his hand against it. The panel recognized his fingerprints and opened to reveal a hidden communication system. I have been in contact with our support teams. Everything is ready. Jake looked out the window at the peaceful colony where people were going about their normal evening activities. Children were playing. Families were having dinner. Workers were finishing their shifts. None of them knew that their quiet home was about to become a battlefield. How long since we started this deception? Jake asked. 18 months, Dr. Stone replied. The fake agriculture research, the disguised equipment, the hidden weapon systems, everything has been in place since we first detected Valthak scouts in nearby systems. Lisa checked her real security status on a hidden computer screen. All defensive positions are manned and ready. The fake patrol ships are in position. The actual combat units are standing by. And the evacuation? Jake asked. The real shelters are ready for all 50,000 colonists, Ben said. They can survive down there for months if necessary. The children think they are going to simple emergency rooms under the school. Jake nodded and activated a secure communication channel that connected directly to Earth Command. This is New Haven Colony. We have 3 Valthak dreadnoughts approaching. Estimated time of arrival is 10 hours. We are implementing Protocol 7 as planned. The response from Earth came immediately. New Haven, this is Earth Command. Protocol 7 is authorized. All support assets are in position. Remember, this is about sending a message to the entire Valthak Empire. Understood, Earth Command. New Haven will deliver the message. As night fell over the colony, most people went to bed worried about the approaching alien ships. They had no idea that their peaceful farming settlement was actually one of the most heavily defended positions in human space. The weapons were there, hidden and waiting. The soldiers were there, disguised as colonists and workers. Tomorrow, the Valthak Empire would learn that attacking human colonies was a very bad idea. But tonight, New Haven looked exactly like what the aliens expected to find. A weak, defenseless target that would surrender or die within minutes of the first attack. Commander Zethkar went to sleep confident that tomorrow would bring another easy victory for the Velthak Empire. He had no idea that he was flying into a trap that had been 18 months in the making. The three Velthak dreadnoughts moved into orbit around New Haven like giant predators circling their prey. Commander Zethkar stood on his command deck watching the peaceful human colony through his ship's sensors. Everything looked exactly as his intelligence reports had predicted. Farming domes, mining equipment, small buildings, and a few tiny patrol ships. "Open a communication channel to the human colony," Zethkar ordered. "Let us see how quickly these primitives surrender." The message went out on all frequencies that humans used for communication. Zethkar's voice was cold and commanding. "Human colonists of New Haven, you are now under the authority of the Velthak Empire. You have one planetary rotation to surrender your colony and prepare for relocation. Resistance will result in your complete destruction." On the surface, Jake Morrison received the alien ultimatum in his administration building. The conference room was filled again with department heads who looked terrified at the alien message. Outside, colonists were pointing at the sky where the massive enemy ships could be seen as dark spots against the blue sky. 24 hours, Lisa Carter said. "They are giving us a full day to surrender." "Should we try to negotiate?" asked the agriculture supervisor. "Maybe we can convince them we are just peaceful farmers." Jake looked around the room at the worried faces. These people trusted him to keep them safe. Most of them had no idea what was really about to happen. "I want everyone to begin immediate evacuation procedures. All colonists should report to the emergency shelters under their assigned buildings." Dr. Stone spoke up. "I recommend we also send a message asking for more time to consider their demands. It might delay their attack." "Good idea, Alex," Jake said. "Prepare a response asking for 48 hours to organize our surrender." As the department heads left to begin evacuations, Jake activated the hidden communication system in his office. His next message went to Earth Command on a channel the Velthak could not detect. "Earth Command, this is New Haven. The enemy has arrived as predicted. 3 dreadnoughts in standard attack formation. We are beginning Protocol 7 implementation." "New Haven, this is Earth Command. All observer fleets are in position. The galaxy will be watching this engagement. Make it count." Jake looked out his window and saw colonists hurrying toward the school and other buildings. Parents carried children while workers helped elderly residents move to safety. To anyone watching from space, it looked like a panicked evacuation of helpless civilians. But underneath the colony, in hidden chambers that extended deep into the planet's crust, the real activity was beginning. Combat teams that had been disguised as farmers and mechanics for 18 months were finally dropping their civilian covers. Weapon systems that looked like mining equipment were powering up. Shield generators disguised as weather stations were coming online. Katie Walsh led a group of children into what they thought was a simple emergency shelter under the school. The children were scared but trusted their teacher to keep them safe. They had no idea they were entering one of the most sophisticated military bunkers ever built by humans. The shelter looked basic from the entrance, just concrete walls and simple furniture. But behind hidden panels were advanced life support systems that could keep everyone alive for months. The walls themselves were made of materials that could survive direct hits from orbital weapons. "Will the aliens hurt us, Miss Katie?" one little girl asked. "No, sweetie," Katie replied with confidence. "We are going to be perfectly safe down here." She knew more than the children, but not everything. She believed they were hiding in a well-built shelter until help could arrive from Earth. Ben Rodriguez was in his workshop when the evacuation order came. Workers around the colony saw him gathering tools and equipment like any mechanic would do in an emergency. But Ben was actually activating hidden systems throughout the colony. The mining equipment that dotted the landscape began subtle changes. Drilling platforms that looked like they were designed to dig up metals started extending and repositioning themselves. To untrained eyes, they still looked like industrial machinery. But Ben knew they were actually advanced railgun systems capable of launching projectiles at incredible speeds. Dr. Stone was in his research facility downloading what appeared to be agricultural data. Other colonists saw him saving his crop research before the aliens could destroy it. In reality, he was activating the colony's military sensor network and target acquisition systems. The farming domes that covered much of the northern continent began retracting their transparent growing sections. From space, it would look like the colonists were protecting their crops from possible bombardment. The Valthak sensors could not detect that underneath each dome was a heavily armored weapons platform. Lisa Carter was the only one whose job did not change much. She was still running security operations, just on a much larger scale than the aliens suspected. Her team of 12 officers had grown to over 300 combat specialists who had been living undercover throughout the colony. The few patrol ships that orbited the colony began moving into defensive positions. The Valthak watched them with amusement. Tiny human vessels trying to protect their world against massive dreadnoughts. What the aliens could not see was that each patrol ship was actually a heavily armed fighter, disguised with fake civilian hull plating. As the evacuation continued, Jake prepared his response to the alien ultimatum. The message would be broadcast, on open channels so the Valthak could hear every word. He wanted them to feel completely confident about their overwhelming advantage. Commander Zethkar of the Valthak Empire, Jake began his transmission. We are peaceful farmers and miners, who mean no harm to your empire. We request 48 hours to organize our surrender and prepare our people for relocation. We hope you will show mercy to our families and children. Zethkar received the human message with satisfaction. The colony administrator sounded appropriately, frightened and deferent. This would be even easier than expected. Human administrator, you have demonstrated wisdom in recognizing the futility of resistance. However, the Valthak Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. You have 6 hours to complete your surrender, not 48. 6 hours was actually perfect for Jake's real plans. It would give them enough time to complete all preparations while keeping the aliens confident and unsuspecting. The Valthak would spend those hours enjoying their sense of superiority and planning how to divide the colony's resources. As the 6th hour approached, the last colonists disappeared into the underground shelters. From space, New Haven looked almost abandoned except for a few patrol ships and some scattered equipment. The colony appeared to be waiting helplessly for its fate. Commander Zethkar looked at his tactical displays and smiled. The humans had positioned their few ships in a defensive formation around their planet. It was a brave but pointless gesture. His 3 dreadnoughts could destroy those tiny vessels in seconds. Commander, his tactical officer reported, the 6-hour deadline has passed. The humans have not formally surrendered. Then we will demonstrate the price of defying the Valthak Empire, Zethkar declared. Target their patrol ships first. Let them watch their pitiful defenses crumble before we demand their final surrender. What Zethkar did not know was that in the underground command center beneath New Haven, Jake Morrison was counting down the final seconds before the real war began. Everything was ready. Every weapon was positioned. Every soldier was at their station. Jake opened a final communication channel to the approaching alien fleet. His voice was calm and steady, with none of the fear the aliens expected to hear. "Commander Zethkar, this is Administrator Morrison of New Haven Colony. You now have 7 minutes to withdraw from this system before we demonstrate why attacking human settlements is inadvisable." The transmission ended, and Jake looked at his command staff. Dr. Stone was monitoring alien ship movements. Ben Rodriguez had weapon systems ready for activation. Lisa Carter was coordinating with combat teams throughout the colony. "Gentlemen and ladies," Jake said quietly, "let us show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens a human colony." Above them, Commander Zethkar was laughing at the human administrator's ridiculous ultimatum. 7 minutes before humans demonstrated something to the mighty Valthak Empire, these primitives were either insane or stupider than any species he had ever conquered. "Open fire on their patrol ships," Zethkar ordered. "Let us end this pathetic display of defiance." The first Velthak energy beams lanced out toward the human vessels, and the 7-minute war began. The morning sun painted the sky orange over New Haven Colony as Jake Morrison walked through the main street. He was the colony administrator, a job that mostly meant fixing problems and keeping 50,000 people happy on a planet far from Earth. The street was quiet, except for the sound of children playing near the school and the hum of machines working in the distance. Jake stopped at Ben Rodriguez's workshop where the mechanic was fixing a transport vehicle. Ben looked up from under the hood and wiped grease from his hands with a dirty cloth. "Morning, Jake," Ben said with a smile. "This old transport is giving me trouble again, but I think I can get her running." "Take your time, Ben," Jake replied. "We are not in any hurry here." That was true about life on New Haven. Everything moved slowly and peacefully. People grew food in the big domes scattered across the northern part of the planet. Others worked in the mines pulling useful metals from the ground. Most folks just wanted a simple life away from the crowded cities back on Earth. Jake continued his walk and saw Dr. Alex Stone coming out of the research building. Alex was the colony's chief scientist and spent most of his time working on ways to grow better crops. "How are the plants doing, Alex?" Jake asked. "Very well," Alex answered. "The soil here is perfect for earth crops. We should have a good harvest this season." Alex carried a tablet computer and seemed to be checking data about something. He was always checking data. Near the school building, Katie Walsh was teaching a group of children about their new world. Katie was young and energetic, and the kids loved her classes. She pointed up at the sky and explained how their planet moved around its star. "Our sun is different from Earth's sun," she told them, "but it gives us the same warm light to help plants grow." One little girl raised her hand. "Miss Katie, will more people come to live here?" Katie smiled. "Maybe someday, but for now we have a nice quiet home where everyone knows everyone else." Jake watched the children for a moment and felt good about what they had built here. New Haven was exactly what its name suggested, a safe new place for humans to live and grow. The colony had basic defenses, of course. Captain Lisa Carter ran a small security team with 12 officers. They had a few patrol ships and some shields to protect against space rocks or other natural dangers. Lisa was checking her equipment when Jake found her at the security building. She was a serious woman who took her job protecting the colony very seriously. "Everything quiet today, Lisa?" Jake asked. "As always," Lisa said. "My teams did their regular patrol this morning. Nothing unusual to report." She looked at a screen, showing the space around their planet. Sometimes I wonder if we even need all this security equipment. Nothing ever happens out here. Jake nodded, but something in the back of his mind made him think that being prepared was still important. Better to have it and not need it, he said. The truth was that New Haven looked very ordinary from the outside. Space travelers who passed through the system would see farming domes, mining equipment, small houses, and normal colony buildings. The patrol ships looked like basic transports. The shields seemed like standard protection that any smart colony would have. What they would not see were the deep underground tunnels that connected every building. They would not notice that some of the farming domes had thick metal walls hidden under the growing areas. The mining equipment looked normal, but was built much stronger than it needed to be for digging up metals. Even the colonists did not know about everything hidden in their peaceful home. Jake knew some things because he was the administrator. Lisa knew other things because she ran security. Dr. Stone knew different things because of his work. Ben Rodriguez knew about the machines, but not everything they could do. The children at Katie's school played above underground shelters that could keep them safe from almost anything. The shelters had food and water for months. They had air systems that could work even if the surface was damaged. Katie knew about the shelters but thought they were just for emergencies like bad storms. That afternoon, Jake walked to the edge of town where the newest farming dome was being built. Workers were putting in what looked like normal growing systems, but Jake could see that some of the equipment was much more advanced than it appeared. The dome itself was stronger than needed for growing plants. "Looking good," Jake told the construction boss. "When will this be ready?" "Another few weeks," the man replied. "We are taking extra time to make sure everything is built right." He did not mention that built right meant the dome could survive attacks that would destroy most buildings. As evening came, Jake returned to his office in the administration building. The building looked like a simple place where colony paperwork was done. Inside, Jake had a desk, some chairs, and computers for normal colony business. But behind a hidden wall was a room filled with military communication equipment. Jake did not use that room often. It was connected directly to Earth Command and to other human colonies. Most of the time, the equipment just listened to space traffic and recorded information. Tonight, it was quiet like always. Jake looked out his window at the colony as lights came on in houses and buildings. Families were having dinner. Workers were finishing their shifts. Children were probably doing homework with Katie's help. Everything was normal and peaceful, but far away in space, other eyes were watching New Haven Colony. The Valthak Empire had been studying human settlements for months. Their ships stayed hidden while they collected information about human defenses and military strength. Commander Zethkar of the Valthak fleet was reading reports about different human colonies. The reports said humans were a young species that had only recently learned to travel between stars. Their colonies were small and poorly defended. Their technology was basic compared to the great Valthak Empire. New Haven looked especially weak in the reports. It had only 50,000 people. The defenses seemed minimal. The ships were few and appeared to be just transports. It would be perfect for testing new Valthak weapons and showing other species what happened when they refused to join the Empire. Zethkar smiled as he looked at pictures of the quiet human colony. Soon he would arrive with 3 massive warships. The humans would surrender quickly when they saw the power of the Valthak Empire. If they did not surrender, they would be destroyed as an example to others. Back on New Haven, Jake finished his evening reports and prepared to go home. He had no idea that alien eyes were watching his colony. He did not know that warships were moving through space toward his peaceful world. Tomorrow would start like any other day with Ben fixing machines, Alex checking his plants, Katie teaching, children, and Lisa doing security patrols. The colonists would wake up thinking they lived in a quiet farming settlement on the edge of human space. They had no idea that their quiet colony was about to become the center of a very short war that would change how the galaxy thought about humanity forever. The moment the first Vielthak energy beams streaked toward New Haven, the quiet colony exploded into action. What the aliens thought were simple weather monitoring stations suddenly generated massive shield barriers that appeared in the path of their weapons. The deadly energy blasts that should have vaporized human ships instead scattered harmlessly into space like light hitting a mirror. Commander Zethkar stared at his tactical display in confusion. What happened to our weapons? Fire? Commander, the humans have shield technology we did not detect, his tactical officer reported with growing alarm. Our sensors are showing massive energy signatures coming from the planet's surface. Before Zethkar could respond, the colony's true defenses revealed themselves. The farming domes that had looked so peaceful opened like metal flowers. Inside each dome, advanced weapon systems rose from concealed positions. The mining equipment that dotted the landscape transformed as drilling platforms extended and rotated to reveal railgun barrels pointed directly at the alien fleet. Captain Lisa. Carter was in her fighter cockpit, no longer pretending to fly a simple patrol ship. Around her, 11 other pilots dropped their civilian disguises as their vessels shed fake hull plating to reveal sleek combat fighters equipped with experimental quantum drives and advanced weapons systems. All units, this is Lisa Carter, she broadcast to her squadron. Execute attack pattern Alpha. Show them what human engineering can do. The human fighters moved in ways that violated what the Velthak thought they knew about physics. Using quantum displacement technology, the ships seemed to teleport short distances, appearing behind alien formations before the enemy sensors could track their movement. Energy weapons that looked nothing like standard human technology began, slicing through Velthak armor plating like it was made of paper. In the underground command center, Dr. Stone was coordinating the planetary defense grid. His agricultural research computers had transformed into military targeting systems that could track multiple enemy vessels simultaneously. Ben, I have targeting solutions on all 3 dreadnoughts, he reported. Ben Rodriguez grinned as he activated the colony's hidden railgun network. Firing solution accepted, Alex. Let us send these aliens a message they will never forget. The disguised mining platforms across New Haven's surface fired in perfect synchronization. Metal projectiles launched at incredible speeds, crossing the space between planet and enemy ships faster than Vielthak sensors could detect them. The rounds struck the lead dreadnought's hull with devastating impact, punching through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. Commander Zethkar felt his massive ship shudder under impacts that should have been impossible. "Report," he shouted. "Over the sound of alarms. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 18, came the panicked response. "Whatever they fired at us is moving faster than our point defense systems can track." The second wave of human railgun fire targeted the alien ship's weapon systems. With surgical precision, the projectiles destroyed gun emplacements and missile launchers while leaving life support systems intact. The Vielthak found themselves with a heavily damaged ship that could no longer fight back effectively. But the real surprise was still coming. Ben Rodriguez activated the colony's hidden mech deployment system. What had appeared to be construction equipment and industrial vehicles throughout New Haven suddenly transformed into combat mechs that launched themselves toward the alien fleet. HFY. Mechs used adaptive camouflage and stealth technology to approach the enemy ships undetected. Once they reached the alien hulls, they attached themselves like metal parasites and began cutting through armor plating with plasma torches. Within minutes, dozens of the mechanical units had penetrated the exterior of all 3 dreadnoughts. "Commander, we have hostile units inside our ship," a Velthak officer reported in terror. "They appear to be some kind of mechanical soldiers that are moving through our corridors." Zethkar could not believe what he was hearing. These humans had gone from helpless farmers to technologically superior opponents in a matter of minutes. How is this possible? Our intelligence said they were primitives with basic technology. Inside the Velthak ships, Ben's mechs were carrying out their programmed mission with deadly efficiency. They moved through alien corridors like metal ghosts, using advanced sensors to map ship layouts and identify critical systems. Instead of attacking the crew directly, they focused on disabling engines, weapons, and communication equipment. The mechs had been designed specifically for this type of operation. They analyzed Velthak technology in real time and adapted their tools accordingly. When they encountered energy barriers, they switched to plasma cutters. When they found armored sections, they used molecular disruptors. Every defense the aliens had was countered by human adaptive engineering. Dr. Stone was monitoring the battle from his command center and providing real-time analysis to all human forces. "Lisa, the lead ship has lost primary weapons. Ben, your mechs have disabled the engine core on Ship 2. Jake, we are ahead of schedule." Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly as Earth Command had planned. "How are our casualties?" he asked. "0 human losses so far," Lisa reported from her fighter. "The aliens have not been able to target us effectively with their sensors jammed and their weapons disabled. The Velthak were discovering that human technology was not just more advanced than they had expected, it was more advanced than their own. The quantum drives on the human fighters allowed for movement patterns that Velthak ships could not match. The railguns fired projectiles at speeds that made conventional point defense useless. The adaptive mechs could counter any defensive system in real time. But perhaps most impressive was the shield technology. What had appeared to be simple weather stations were actually nodes in a planetary defense grid that could deflect or absorb any energy weapon the Velthak possessed. The aliens found themselves completely unable to strike back at the human colony. Commander Zethkar realized with growing horror that his fleet was being systematically dismantled by opponents who were supposed to be inferior. All ships attempt to withdraw to minimum safe distance. We need to reassess this situation. "Commander, our engines are not responding," his helmsman reported. "The mechanical units have damaged our propulsion systems. We cannot maneuver." That was when Dr. Stone activated the colony's most advanced defensive system. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt around New Haven were automated defense platforms that had been watching the battle. These platforms used gravitational manipulation, technology to create a field that prevented faster-than-light travel anywhere in the system. "Attention, Velthak fleet!" Jake's voice came over their communication systems. "Your hyperdrive systems have been disabled. You are now trapped in this system until we decide to release you." The third Velthak dreadnought tried to run using conventional engines, but Lisa's fighter squadron was waiting for exactly that response. The human ships swarmed around the massive vessel like angry insects, targeting engine exhausts and maneuvering thrusters with precision weapons fire. Within 5 minutes of the start of combat, all 3 alien dreadnoughts were floating helplessly in space. Their weapons were destroyed, their engines were disabled, and their hulls were crawling with human mechs that continued to systematically shut down every system that could pose a threat. Ben Rodriguez was particularly proud of his mechanical soldiers. Jake, the mechs have secured all 3 ships. Alien crew members are contained but unharmed. We have complete control of their vessels. Excellent work, Ben, Jake replied. Dr. Stone, what is our analysis of Veilthak technology? Alex looked at his data screens and shook his head in amazement. Their ships use quantum crystalline power matrices that we figured out how to build 30 years ago. Their weapons are based on focused plasma technology that we replaced with better systems a decade ago. Their sensors cannot detect our stealth, fields, or adaptive camouflage. So they are actually behind us technologically? Jake asked. By at least 20 years in most areas, Alex confirmed. Maybe more in some cases. They have been conquering species that were even further behind than they are. The realization hit Commander Zethkar like a physical blow. The Veilthak Empire had been building their reputation by attacking opponents who were weaker than themselves. They had never encountered a species that was actually more advanced than they were. Commander, his tactical officer said quietly, we have been monitoring human communications. This colony was apparently designed specifically to test their defensive capabilities against opponents like us. You mean this was a trap? Zethkar asked. Yes, sir. And from what we can determine, there are similar hidden military installations disguised as peaceful colonies throughout human space. Zethkar sank into his command chair as the full implications became clear. The Veilthak Empire had not discovered weak human settlements to conquer. They had stumbled into a network of advanced military testing facilities that had been waiting for exactly this kind of attack. The 7-minute war was almost over, and the humans had won so completely that it was not even close to being a fair fight. As the 7-minute mark approached, the 3 Veilthak dreadnoughts floated in space like broken toys. 2 of them were completely disabled and drifting without power. The 3rd ship, Commander Zethkar's flagship, still had life support and basic systems but no weapons or engines. Human mechs crawled over all 3 vessels like metal ants, ensuring that every dangerous system remained offline. Captain Lisa Carter's fighter squadron maintained a protective formation around the disabled alien ships. Her pilots were amazed at how easily they had defeated opponents who were supposed to be a serious military threat. Jake, this is Lisa. All enemy vessels are secure. No human casualties to report. In the underground command center, Dr. Stone was analyzing data from the brief battle. His computers had recorded every aspect of Veilthak technology and tactics. Jake, their shield frequencies are completely predictable. Their weapon targeting systems are at least 15 years behind our current technology. Even their hull armor uses an alloy composition that we stopped using decades ago. Jake Morrison looked at the tactical display showing 3 defeated enemy ships and felt a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The battle had gone exactly as Earth Command had planned, but the implications were troubling. Alex, if they are this far behind us technologically, how have they been conquering other species? They have been very careful to only attack opponents who are even weaker than they are, Alex replied. The Veilthak Empire has built their reputation by bullying species that cannot fight back effectively. Ben Rodriguez was monitoring his mechs as they completed their work inside the alien ships. The mechanical units had not harmed any Veilthak crew members, but they had completely disabled every system that could be used as a weapon. Jake, my mechs report that the aliens have some kind of communication system that connects to their entire empire. Should we shut it down? No, Ben. Leave it active, Jake said with a smile. We want them to be able to send messages home about what happened here. Jake activated the communication system that connected him directly to the Velthak flagship. Commander Zethkar's face appeared on the screen, looking defeated and confused. The alien commander was clearly struggling to understand how his overwhelming force had been defeated so completely. Commander Zethkar, Jake began in a calm, professional tone. I am Administrator Morrison of New Haven Colony. I wanted to discuss the current situation before we decide what to do with your ships and crew. How is this possible? Zethkar asked. Our intelligence report said humans were a primitive species with basic technology. Your intelligence was wrong, Jake replied, but that is understandable since we worked very hard to make sure it would be wrong. Jake gestured toward Dr. Stone, who began explaining what had really happened. Commander, what you attacked was not a peaceful farming colony. New Haven is a military testing facility that was designed to look like a vulnerable civilian settlement. We have been monitoring Velthak expansion for over 2 years. You mean this was all a deception? Zethkar asked. Every aspect of it, Alex confirmed. The farming domes hide weapon platforms. The mining equipment are actually railgun systems. The research facility is a military command center. Even our patrol ships are advanced fighters disguised to look like civilian transports. Ben Rodriguez appeared on the communication screen. Commander, my mechs have been analyzing your ship systems. Your technology is impressive, but it is based on principles that human scientists figured out decades ago. We have been expecting this type of attack for a long time. Jake could see the defeat in the alien commander's eyes as the truth became clear. Commander, New Haven is one of 47 similar installations throughout human space. Every colony that your intelligence identified as a potential target is actually a heavily defended military facility. But why? Zethkar asked. Why create such an elaborate deception? Because we needed to send a message to your empire and any other aggressive species in this part of the galaxy, Jake explained. We want everyone to understand that attacking human settlements is a very bad idea. Katie Walsh's voice came over the communication system from the underground shelter. Mr. Morrison, the children are asking when they can come back to the surface. They want to see what happened to the alien ships. Jake smiled at the innocent question. Tell them they can come up in a few minutes, Katie. The excitement is almost over. Commander Zethkar looked stunned. You have children here? In a military facility? They are not just children, Jake said. They are the future of humanity. Every person in this colony, from the youngest child to the oldest adult, represents what we are protecting. That is why we built places like New Haven, to make sure our people can live in peace without fear of aggressive empires. Dr. Stone activated a display showing the location of other human colonies throughout nearby star systems. Commander, I want you to understand something important. Every red dot on this map represents a colony that your empire has been watching. Every single one of them is actually a military installation like New Haven. The map showed dozens of red dots scattered across multiple star systems. Zethkar realized that the Velthak Empire had been planning to attack dozens of targets that were actually military bases capable of destroying entire fleets. How long have you been planning this? Zethkar asked weakly. Earth Command began. Developing the defensive colony program 5 years ago when we first detected Velthak scouts in human space, Jake explained. We have been watching your empire expand and waiting for you to make the mistake of attacking one of our settlements. Ben Rodriguez added more details that made the situation even worse for the aliens. Commander, our mechs have downloaded the navigation data from your ships. We now know the location of every Velthak military base and the composition of your entire fleet. This information has already been transmitted to Earth Command. Jake could see that Commander Zethkar was beginning to understand the full scope of what had happened. The Velthak Empire had not just lost 3 ships in a failed attack. They had revealed their military capabilities and locations to an opponent who was technologically superior and had been planning for this confrontation for years. "What happens to my ships and crew?" Zethkar asked. "Your crew will be returned to you unharmed," Jake said. "Your ships will be repaired enough to reach Velthak space, but their weapons and faster-than-light drives will remain disabled. The IID journey home will take you approximately 3 years at sublight speed." 3 years? Zethkar looked horrified. "That should give you plenty of time to think about what you learned here," Jake said. "It will also give you time to spread the word about what happens when the Velthak Empire attacks human settlements." Dr. Stone activated another display showing sensor readings from throughout the local region of space. "Commander, we want you to know that this entire engagement has been monitored by observation fleets from 17 different species. The news about your defeat will spread throughout the galaxy within a few months." Jake opened a final communication channel that connected to Earth Command. "Earth Command, this is New Haven Colony. Field test of Protocol 7 has been completed successfully. All objectives achieved with 0 human casualties. Enemy fleet neutralized and ready for release." The response came immediately. "Excellent. Work, New Haven. The galaxy is now aware that human colonies are not easy targets. Phase 2 of the Defensive Expansion Program is authorized for immediate implementation." Jake looked at Commander Zethkar one last time. "Commander, I want you to take a message back to your Empire leadership. Humanity is willing to coexist peacefully with any species that respects our territorial boundaries. But any empire that threatens human civilians will discover that we are far better prepared for war than we appear to be. I will deliver your message," Zethkar said quietly. As the communication ended, Jake looked around the command center at his team. Dr. Stone was already analyzing data for the next phase of operations. Ben Rodriguez was preparing his mechs for deployment to other colonies. Captain Lisa Carter was filing reports about the fighter squadron's performance. Above ground, Katie Walsh was leading the children out of the shelters to see the alien ships floating helplessly in space. The kids pointed and asked questions about the big metal objects in the sky. They had no idea they had just witnessed humanity's first demonstration of military power to an aggressive alien empire. 6 months later, Velthak intelligence reports showed a disturbing pattern. Every human colony they had previously identified as a potential target had mysteriously disappeared from their sensors. In their place, heavily fortified military installations had appeared as if they had always been there. The Velthak Empire quietly removed human space from their expansion plans and began looking for easier targets in other parts of the galaxy. Commander Zethkar, now serving in a much lower position, often warned younger officers about the dangers of underestimating species that appeared to be primitive. Throughout the galaxy, other aggressive empires heard the story of what happened at New Haven Colony. Most of them decided that human space was too dangerous to attack. A few skeptical species sent their own scouts to investigate human defenses, but they found only heavily armed,